Oh man, it's Tuesday. We're back. Dude,
Yeah.
I didn't tell you. You're not going to believe this. So, remember last week we were looking for that bug?
Yeah.
I just remember now that I hit the on button. And it wasn't failing, right? It wasn't failing. We ran it for what? Half an hour? It wasn't failing,
At least,
right?
yeah.
So, show's over. Take my laptop. I walk over there in the kitchen. I'm preparing some lunch. And suddenly the program fails the same way Ed's been seeing it.
Of course, when we finish.
And I was like, didn't change a thing. Didn't change a thing. I was running with the same concurrency.
Yep.
But I was just scratching my head. So run it, finally blows up. Same exact error. So now I'm like, first of all, I'm excited.
Yeah,
At the same time, I'm shocked. And then I'm like, why couldn't this happen in the freaking...
Yeah, in the show.
Well, I traced this bug the entire rest of the day. That was at 1 o'clock? I finally, by 4 o'clock, I finally realized what was going on. And then by 6 o'clock, I had a fix. This was nasty town, bro.
What?
Nasty town. The cool thing is that Ed is running the M4, M5, so this crazy bug sort of appeared the same way. Why it didn't happen during the show, I have no idea. But here is the crazy bug that we had and then how I discovered where it was. So, crazy, bro. Crazy town.
Oh, I'm excited
So,
to see this.
What was happening is that the program would run for a certain amount of time.
Okay.
And there was a piece of code on the ISMA side. Okay?
Huh.
Hold on, I'm going to find it. This is what took me all day to find. There was a piece of code on the ISMA side. Hold on. I need to find the samplers. It ended up... Okay. Okay. So let me bring this in for a second. Ron has a fix now, but he hasn't released this code yet, so I can't. Okay. Now, this is an API call
Okay.
that Ron has to initialize some default sampler parameters. Okay?
Okay.
Now, what you can see here is that, let me see if I can go into it here. This isn't the latest code, though. Where is what I'm looking for? Hold on a second. I know what I'm looking for, but I'm not seeing it here. It's not. I know I don't, unless he released the code. Because then I can't. Hold on a second. I'm just confused because I'm just expecting to see a bool here.
Oh.
And I'm not seeing a bool here. So I don't think I have. Let me just double check something before we do more. Where's the ISMA? Hybrid 13. But I don't think he released it yet. I'll tell you in a second. I'm just confused. So I have to see what he did here. No. See, this is the fix that he made. But what's weird is it should have been here. Okay, well. Shit, what line of code was that in? I'm not good at this GitHub stuff, bro. That's line 31.
31.
This is the fix. Okay, so llama sampling go. Let's do something here for a second, since that's already in main. Llama sampling go. Under lib. No. Package. Llama. Sampling.
No, it says the last change was 2 months ago.
Yeah, this is the problem right here. This is
Yeah.
what I was expecting to see. So I'm not seeing it. It's the FF sampler chain params. Let me see if that's what I see here. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Ah, this is a problem. Okay. So this is the crazy shit. Okay. So when we look at this here, the sampler chain commands. Okay, you see this struct.
Yep.
What's the size of this field?
UNT8.
uint8,
Yeah.
which is essentially
8.
8, right? It's 1 byte essentially here. Okay, it's not 2 bytes. It's
Okay.
okay. It's essentially a bool.
Yeah.
Okay, he's using uint8 to sort of represent a bool here. This is 1 byte of data that he's passing, and he's passing the address of it because the Llama APIs are going to write to this 1 byte of data. Okay. So what this bug was, let me put it here because then I have the workaround here. Okay. Is that he registered this call with a return type, but of 1 byte.
Okay.
Okay. He essentially allocated 1 byte of memory for this call.
Okay.
The problem is that Llama CPP actually uses 8 bytes for this.
Oh.
So when we make this call, Llama CPP is writing 8 bytes, not 1 byte. But we only allocated 1 byte of memory as far as the Go system is concerned. We have 1 byte. That's all we're tracking. That's all we're allocating.
Okay.
But every time we make this call, we're actually writing 8 bytes out.
Huh.
So there are 7 bytes being written to memory that we don't own and control. Now, after many, and I mean many iterations, those 7 bytes were landing where we had the pre-compiled Jinja template in memory. Yes. Now, these 7 bytes were being written over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But for most of them, the 7 bytes that we were overriding were irrelevant. It could have been memory that we weren't using somewhere, or even if we were, it wasn't affecting the call path.
Okay.
And then every once in a while, after a lot of allocations and deallocations going on in the heap, these extra 7 bytes that we wrote, that Llama CPP wrote, that we only allocated 1 byte for, ended up landing where we have the pre-compiled template. It basically turning the template into that.
Oh my God.
Okay? This is what happens in C. This is why nobody wants to write C programs anymore. Okay? But we're doing low-level C stuff.
Yeah.
So this was a mistake, an easy mistake to make by Ron, because he thought that it was really just 1 byte.
1 byte. Yeah.
When it was really basically, right, 8 bytes that had to be written.
And 7 bytes of it.
So luckily, if I go back to this for a second. So I go back to this, okay? This is the 1 byte data structure, but this function call was writing 8 bytes.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, you wouldn't have seen this. Anytime something like this happens, it is completely random. Because you don't know, in this case, you've ever heard of bugs like buffer overrun?
Yep.
This is basically in that sort of realm a little bit.
Okay.
Except this isn't an array that we're sort of overwriting. So what happens is the 7 bytes are being written. They're being written God knows where. 99 out of 100 times, that memory corruption is irrelevant because that memory is probably not even allocated anywhere, or it's part of a path that you're not using. And then boom, you run it this one time and just whacks some state and it's random, right? If you're lucky, the program crashes like we did. If you're unlucky, you're corrupting data and the program is still running. So if this was like data you were processing, you're corrupting it. As opposed to, in this case, it was a string which had a precompiled template in it. And so the Jinja would fail because the template was now bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so I knew by basically 1:30 that this is what we had in front of us. I had some function writing into where the long-lived compiled template was. I didn't know when it was happening. I didn't know who was doing it, but for sure something was corrupting this, right?
Yeah.
And luckily, the code behaved exactly the same on Ed's M4 as it did on this M5. If he was running Linux or something else, this would have shown itself maybe a little differently.
Okay.
Now, what we're doing until I can get Ron's fix. So Ron's fix is basically now for this to write 8 bytes out instead of 1. So on Ron's fix here that we're waiting for, that I just walked away from because I don't know how to do shit here. He's basically changing out the data structure from essentially this type pointer to something else, right? So, and it's because now the call will just write out 1 byte, not, right? He went from a type pointer, a pointer, 8 bytes, back down to just the 1 byte that we really needed for this call.
Got it. Okay.
We only needed the 1 byte for this call, but he was using 8 bytes. Okay, so we fixed that.
Got it.
He
So
also found similar problems in some other places. Another place. So I'm waiting for his fix. Okay, these are things that tend not to happen in Go, but happen here. Now, luckily, I didn't have to wait for his fix. I just manually did what he's doing now, which is essentially make this call with this for the 1 byte, and we're only writing 1 byte, and that's all we're doing now, and everything's going to be clean. So the moment we now stopped writing 7 extra bytes somewhere in memory, all the bugs sort of went away.
That's a crazy one.
Now, what was funny is Ed was still screaming, yeah, but when I have IMC on, it doesn't happen so often. Yeah, because IMC was changing the memory layout and slowing some things down. So once the memory layout changed, the corruption is changing.
Yeah, it was still corrupting something, but somewhere else.
Somewhere else. And still, every once in a while, you hit the right thing. Now, how did I figure out that this, out of all the calls in Llama CPP, was the problem? Because I'm psycho. I told my agent at one point, I know there's a llama.call that's causing this corruption. So you are going to add a preamble before every llama call to say that the fingerprint for the compiled Jinja is the same, and after the call, check it.
Okay.
Ran the program, and once the corruption happened, it was consistently after this call. So the compiled Jinja template was clean, and then eventually you make this call, and it was unclean. And then we discovered that we were writing 8 bytes instead of 1.
And this took a while of running it.
Of course, dude, because at some point I finally realized what was going on. And then at some point I finally said, I have no choice. I know we just got to find it. And that was the best way to find it.
Yep.
And then we fixed it. And now that bug is gone and everything is better for it. Now, who knows, right? Because every once in a while you feel like the model's going off the deep end or these are little bugs that sometimes can just cause even like, the model is really particular about making sure everything is exactly right. These are little bugs that can cause just slight variations in even the prompt we're sending if that's where the memory corruption happens. And you're wondering, why is the freaking model not behaving this time around?
It's not the model.
It's not the model, right? You got these bugs. So
Wow, that's a crazy one.
once there's a new release, I'll get rid of this code here, and I'll go back to using that. But this code is basically what he's doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dude. Then I gave Ed the code, and he's like, "Oh man, it's working perfectly without IMC and all that." I'm like, "No shit, Sherlock. I've been telling you, bro." But the problem is that these are the kind of things where the average developer just says, "I'll live with it. I'll just," right? Instead of like digging deep and going, "No, I know there's a problem here, and I know it's a hard problem, but you can't give up." And honestly, this would happen in Rust too if you're shelling out to a C library like we are, and you don't align the parameters the way we're aligning both in and out, right? This was an alignment problem with the data. And so we can consider this unsafe code, right? So whether you're in Rust, whether you're in Go, the moment you're going to go into the unsafe mode, right? These are what I always say in my classes are side effects to pointer semantics. If your program's crashing, it's not value semantics. It's pointer semantics. And this is it right here. So, dude, that was all day, bro.
I can imagine all day just...
It just sucks it didn't happen while we were on the show because, right? We could kind of started debugging it a little bit.
Yeah, but that's a crazy one.
So now I'm just waiting for Ron to release... he has it in main, but I don't like using main. And this has fixed it. Now, the other thing that scares me is I do this is the multimedia Go. And what did he change here? He has the same problem here. But I don't know if I'm running into this particular problem right now. Type context params. I don't know. I'd have to look. But at least he discovered another sort of similar problem.
What?
So he was just using a 64-bit int, it looks like, for everything. But my guess is that you have to break it down to the right.
It looks like it's just formatted different. Like he added more comments, but it's UN 8.
Let's see.
32 pointer.
Oh yeah, because he didn't get rid of that. Represents a C struct. The context params. This is an important one.
Oh, he changed one.
Which one did he change?
This one. It's 2 8s and then a 32, and it's a 32 and then an 8. So that's the one he changed.
And this should affect me too because like Ed's doing multimedia stuff. So.
And he took out the size. He took out the size at the end.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. Luckily, I'm not.
I think it's the
this.
flash attention type was the one.
Right, but the flash attention is important.
I think that's the one that he changed.
Well, I need him to release this code, like, sort of here. And that had 2 errors versus the actual C struct.
Yep, flash
1 byte instead of 4 bytes, corrupting flash attention type and warm-up values. You know, I never had warm-up working, actually. And not present in the C struct. Yeah, see, here's another. And I'm running this code, so I'm getting lucky even here with some stuff. These are nasty bugs.
That's crazy. So this is just bugs from the actual like Llama CPP.
Well, I submitted the issue when I found it, and then he did a full research over all his data structures. Now, it could be that they changed their APIs, which they do, and we didn't catch it. So it could be where Ron's, right? Because Ron had it right, and then they went in and changed it.
Yeah.
The tests don't fail, so we think everything's good, and now you start having these problems, right? I mean, there's a chance that that's also sort of what happened. So
that's crazy, low-level stuff.
I just hate using the main branch here. I just hate using it. And but Ron is particular about doing releases. Where I'm releasing a couple times a day, Ron like waits a week, if not more, to like do a release. So it always kills me.
Yeah.
It just kills me that I have to wait. But I'm gonna wait right now because nothing else is breaking. Okay. what I wanted to do today was play with something called rote.
Rote,
But
okay.
before we play with it, I just want to kind of give everybody a background in sort of what this is, why we'd want to use it, where we want to sort of use it. I'm still learning about it,
Okay.
but let's sort of start off in a world without rote for a second, okay?
Okay.
So you've seen me doing this all the time, right? Do I have? Yeah, okay. Make cronk. I'm going to start a cronk server, right? Okay. Then I'm going to start my open code. And open code is talking to cronk, and I can get open code to do things for me as a coding agent. But the value of your coding agent, from my experience, playing with Pi and Goose and Kilo and Klein, right? And open code keeps winning for me over and over again. The value for me, hold on a second, it's not MCP. This to me is a bummer because if I start open code before I start cronk,
Oh, it'll like
it won't
attach,
right? And
Yeah.
I can never get it to sort of reattach. But that's not, I got sidetracked here. These agents are as good as two things. Their tool set that they deliver to the model, and essentially how efficient then and fast they sort of work with the model. Now, everybody and their mom right now is talking high about Pi, which is another agent. If you go into the cronk project structure here, you're going to see under agents, I've
Pi.
given you already support for these particular. I got rid of Klein because I'm just not using it.
Okay.
And then there is a whole set of here, makefile commands. We're going to start with this default bundle. So if you're using open code, you can basically run that. It will add the config folder and move all these files sort of into it.
Okay.
Did all this support for you, so you don't have to sort of think about it.
Nice.
Okay, and open code again is my favorite. It's not the fastest per se. Why everybody's liking Pi is because Pi has like a 2,000 token system prompt.
Oh, okay. So it's
it
a lot.
just feels faster, but that doesn't make it better, right?
No.
And I still feel like OpenCode's UI to start with, their TUI, and the experience I have with the same model is just always better, even though we're probably starting at about a 10,000 token system prompt. But you need direction, man.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, those are your guardrails.
So I don't trust anything I see right now over the web almost with anything anymore, just because I've been playing with this for so long. So I'm a big fan of open code right now, and I'll continue to use it. Now, open code right out of the box is great. It's fine, it works. Its tool set is all bash based, and I don't like their replace tool. So I went into we wrote an MCP service that cronk starts. You can run it separately if you wanted to, right? But cronk starts the MCP service. I have a domain for this. And we added two things for extra support. I added a fuzzy replace because that way you're not looking for exact strings. 'Cause sometimes you're trying to replace a big thing and tab markers and stuff can get in the way.
Yep.
And then I always wanted access to web search. So I integrated the Brave API into the MCP app. And those two things are exposed. And so if you're going to have an MCP service like I do, you can see that open code is connected to it. You have to tell open code about this stuff, right? So you could use these agents out of the box. I've done it for a long time, but eventually you want the agent to be better at things, right? You want the model really to be better at things too.
Yeah.
Like I've learned that this model, at least this Quen 3.6 model, is better than Gemma 4 with programming.
Okay.
It knows JavaScript and TypeScript 10,000 times better than it knows Go. So it doesn't write the most perfect Go. How can we improve that? We're going to talk about that, okay? But you can see a couple things here when you run this, okay? There's an open code JSON document. Now, I do have Olama models listed in there in case you want to do some comparisons. I've got our Cronk models in there, the two that we would play with. I default to the 3.6 because this is my favorite model. This is a cool plugin. It's part of the community that does the handoff like you see in AMP. SourceGraph helped a little bit with that. There's an auth JSON, which is, we have auth turned off, so none of that really matters, so who cares what that is, but you need to have it there, okay? And then, technically, this is all you would need. But you want to sort of enhance your agent so it can have a better experience with the model that you're using. And so one way to do that is to have a agents file, right, that we attach to the config open code folder. So it's all there under sort of open code, right? And so if you want to use Kilo, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to keep it under Kilo. I'm going to, a little bit of duplication here, but I think it just helps to isolate everything. Now, here's a special agents file. Now remember, open code has its own system prompt, right? But now I can enhance some things and hopefully get the model to behave better because open code will see this agents file there and sort of bring it in with everything that it's doing, right? Mm-hmm. So you can sort of read that a little bit and see what's going on. Even talking about two skills that we're going to talk about in a second.
Cronk MCP and writing Go.
So okay. I'm making the MCP server skill and a writing Go skill. We'll talk about that in a second.
Got it.
But here are some basic extended information for the model. Now, I'm going to give you this warning. When you're using frontier models, go crazy with these files.
Yeah.
I'm using a local model. You can't have another 10,000 tokens here, right?
Yep.
So if you're going to be running with the local models, you have to keep the things that I'm showing you to a really tight bare minimum because you'll overload the model anyway, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you got so much context. What attention does it bring to what?
Yeah.
It's going to have an attention problem, right? This is an MOE model that I'm using, only 4 active layers, and it's not a frontier model. So you have to remember, like, you might even have to manually, which is what I will do, trigger the things that you want it to do, again, because it just won't have the same level of attention that the frontier models have.
Makes
you
sense.
have to appreciate where you're at.
Yeah.
So we've got this agents file, and it's laying out skills that we have today, too. I would also not go so crazy with skills on your local machine with a local model because less is always going to be more. So you got to be really careful. That's why I'm doing like a really bare minimum here, right? I write Go code, so I'm not adding things about Python and TypeScript.
Yeah, random.
And if I was, I would have to find ways to trigger that manually when I needed it, not to overload the context, okay?
That
So like
sense.
Here, and it's not always going to listen because it's a smaller model, but right, use the native tool first, but then if it fails, use fuzzy edit from MCP. Okay, now, even though OpenCode has connected to the MCP and it knows it's there, this little agent is giving it a little bit more push.
Yeah.
To say, hey, this actually is really here, and this is when you should use it.
It's being explicit.
Okay.
Yep.
The next level of being explicit now are skill files. Again, on a local model environment like this, don't go crazy. Less is more. And even maybe on the foundation models. But ideally, OpenCode has already provided a bunch of skills around editing and this and that, right?
Yep.
So, but since I want to use this MCP server, I shouldn't have got rid of that. And I didn't put this under, we'll copy these in, right? Because it's the same agent file. It's the same skills regardless of which tool you're using.
So you're not putting them in the...
No, because that would be silly duplication here, right?
Yeah.
But it is under just our default sort of setup, which is where most people will be.
Okay.
So here's a skill right? You have a folder, what it's called, and then you have a file.
Yep.
And this is telling you what the two MCP commands that we currently have today are, and hard rules around when to use it and how to use it. So for the project you're working on, right, this already exists in Cronk. If you start up
Yep.
Cronk and point it, OpenClaw should be able to already hit the MCP endpoint, see the list of tools, know how to use it, yada, 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 yada. You
Nice.
probably don't need this skill file per se, but if you wanted it, you can, right, you can have it.
Yep.
It sets up rules. So think of a skill file as you can think of it as an agent's file in a sense, but it's a very particular document specific to a particular knowledge, right? More knowledge.
It's task-based. Yeah.
It's more like tool-based task, right? It can be a task, it can be tool-based. I'm doing it from a tooling perspective,
Yep.
but for sure it could be a task, right? Again, frontier models, you can have a lot of this stuff. For these small models, you can have it here. Just be careful because all this stuff has to be read at startup and brought in or read at the time that you're working with the agent, as you'll see me do, right? And then you bring it in as you need it. For me, that's better sometimes.
Okay.
But let's just see what happens here. And then I've been playing with this, and for sure, open code isn't necessarily, or the model isn't necessarily using this by default all the time. So now what I'm doing is when I'm going to ask the model to write some Go code, I tell it to sort of load the writing Go skill. You'll see me do that in a little bit. But here's a skill around Go code because, and again, I've trimmed it down, but Go has a whole bunch of great tooling, docs for the standard library, sort of all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And the model's knowledge base is vast, but it's getting older. Like I know right now this model doesn't know much about 126 syntax, right? And so the idea of this is that we can sort of upgrade, think about RAG in a sense, upgrade the model's sort of knowledge base by leveraging Go tooling related to
version
for 126.
Yep.
I think this has been working a little bit, right? It's hard to like definitively test things. It's all subjective, but
Yep.
very cool, right? So I've done this right now. So I have what I'm calling default, which would be essentially for me not using rote. We'll talk about rote in a bit. Okay. But for people that don't need rote, and we'll talk about how rote takes us to the next level, this is what we have. So all of this has been loaded already on local disk here, okay? And the idea is anybody can just install open code. You go up there's a curl command with a bash call, and then it's np, it's a node thing anyway. And then you run this, and you have a full environment, and then essentially I can come in here even and just say, what skills are available to me? And it should come back and tell me that there are these two skills now that are sort of existing within the scope of my current configuration. All right.
It's interesting because this is basically what I've been doing for the last week.
Yeah. So there it is, right? There's a web search and there's a writing ghost. Now, ideally, you want the model to choose these skills, reason about choosing these skills on its own.
Yeah.
But again, I'm running this local model. It's badass, right? But still, for search, it tends to be pretty good, right? So I can do something like, all right, tell me about, actually, see, the way I do it on these local machines, let me do it without the way I do it first.
Yeah.
Normally, I would say, hey, use the web search command to do this, right?
Yeah.
Use the writing Go. That's how I've been doing it because I don't want to take the chance with this particular model because it's smaller here that it's going to or not, right?
Yeah,
It's
making the decision.
Stupid. If it's a frontier model, you should be fine. It should technically do that, but right. But now let me watch this because open code obviously can do curl calls. From my perspective, they're kind of illegal to do because the terms of use on all these browsers and stuff is you don't do that, right?
Yeah.
Like that doesn't sit right with me. But let's just see what happens. And me just asking this alone might have been enough for it to go. Okay, so does right? Does Ardan Labs provide Rust training? Okay, let's just say we do that.
No, general.
And let's see if it decides to make an MCP call or not. Now
Yep.
it did, right? Now
Yep.
I would attribute that it would never have done that until I had the skill files and that agent stuff. It just wouldn't do it, right?
Yeah.
There wasn't enough of a push towards it. But we can definitely see that it chose to use the Cronk web search to
Yep.
do that, right? Okay, interesting. So let's do this for a second. I'm going to start a new session. I'm not going to ask it about skill sets or
Yep.
anything, right? I'm not even going to reset the model because this will be all new context. It won't matter.
Yep.
Does Ardan Labs provide Go training? Now, will it this time, because I didn't mention even the fact that the skills exist in this session, will it go ahead and do that? Now, I don't think it did it. I
No.
think it made a curl call that time, right? And it pulled that information sort of out of its current knowledge base.
Yep. I
You
think
see,
so.
I had no context there. Now, if I said something like, "Hey, can you, use the web search skill to look up if Ardan Labs provides K8S training." Boom. Now it's
None.
sort of kicking that in, right?
Exactly. And that's kind of the approach I took when I was working on some of this, is that I just tell it, use this skill, start in this skill, like prompt it
But
a
it still has
certain
to be
way.
a part of the agent files existence,
Yes.
and you have it there.
Exactly.
And I think for local model interactions like this, it's better because it should keep that context window cleaner. And I don't have a problem with it not using it out of the box. Though the moment I started that session and said, "What skills do we have?"
That was enough. Yeah.
right? It then sort of
That
and
was
so
enough.
it could be that that's how you sort of start these sessions, or like what I'm doing, right? I know there's a skill there to sort of help, so
Yeah.
let's just bring it in, which again I think for local models is probably going to be better, right? But pretty cool now that we're leveraging that. So when we get back to sort of writing that tic-tac-toe game, right? Now I want to say something like, right? So I'm going to ask you to write a Go program. Please use the write and go skill. And that's how I've been starting this now, right? Not assuming and not getting upset that it doesn't decide on its own. I mean, damn, like
Yeah.
I'm not even
it's a
sure I
level
want it to decide on its own anymore. Again, because of context and stuff. But so now if I do this, okay, and I bring this in. Now, another thing I've been doing lately with the local model, and I do this with the frontier models too, but it's been more important here. I'm always asking it to ask me questions first,
Yep.
and then sort of let me approve. This has helped, not 100%, but it's helped quite a bit with the accuracy of what it's producing for Go.
Yeah.
I've never needed to do this for TypeScript stuff, but I think that there's some value in having the engineering conversation just to solidify the context with
Yep.
the model, right? To me, it's all about context and attention. If you don't have context and attention, you can't do what I'm asking you to do.
Yep.
Why do we expect that the model can? It's not hallucinations when you go off and do something I didn't like, because you're going off on what's in your brain.
Yeah. It's just
The
assuming.
Model's doing the same thing. It's whatever knobs it hit that time because you were too vague to give it exactly what you wanted, right?
Yeah.
It's not rocket science here. So what I can do now is I'm going to ask you to write a Go program. Please use the write and go skill. Now I'm going to drop that in, right? And now I'm going to let it write this sort of program. Now, what's interesting about open code is sometimes the model responds in a way that open code knows its questions, and it gives me a prompt system, which is always interesting. It didn't do it this way. So I don't know if it's part of the system prompt for open code. It must be telling the model, if there's questions, format it this way. And every once in a while it does that, and it's kind of cool.
Like it tells you how to.
It gives me a whole menuing system. Here's the thing. Which one do you want?
Oh, okay,
You know?
okay. Yeah, yeah.
But I didn't get it this time. It must be where it's giving you like strict options for each one.
Yep.
So normally now when I do this, you know, and it's always the same questions over and over again. So one would think I should just update the prompt that I have with these.
Yeah, to kind of like already.
Right? Or maybe I'll do that now. Yes. Let's try it anyway. What we'll do is the following. Because every time I get these, they're always the same questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Should the board take current player symbol parameter, and should they each take the board and current player symbol? I mean, that's up to you. I don't know. That question I've never gotten. But this one I get a lot. We prompt and yes, reset the board.
Boom, 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 boom. And should we see the writing go skill come up somewhere?
Yeah, it hasn't tried to write yet though. So,
Okay.
but I would hope it brought it in. But did it bring it in from the beginning? Because that's the question.
I didn't see it. So I think it's still on the questions. It hasn't.
Yeah,
It
okay.
hasn't
So
got
that's
there.
good. Okay, it does, but before you write the program, come on, Bill. Let's do this later. But I was gonna have it do that, but let's do it. It does.
Okay.
So yes, implement this code. I should enhance the prompt, just because it's always the same questions over and over again. So obviously I'm not.
Yeah, that's like a specific.
But I'll do that later.
It's kind of.
Now, I don't see it using necessarily the skill, right? It didn't bring it in. And here's another thing. I brought that up in the beginning, but that's when I should have said.
Use the skill now.
That's when I should, right? So if we do this, so I would argue that's probably not leveraging the skill, right? But let's just see what it produces, and then we'll do it again. And I'll use use this skill, right at the sort of end, and see what happens.
Hear the fans kicking. That means it's
Oh yeah,
doing
my fan's
stuff.
wrong. The fan on this M5 is quieter.
Going back.
Okay. So bug right out of the box.
Bug.
Right?
Yep.
Like massive bug there. Okay, that's fair. So I'm gonna remove. I'll let it finish. Okay, so massive bug, right? So let's start over here. And I'm just gonna drop in the prompt the way it is, right? I'm not gonna talk about any skill just yet.
Okay.
And that happens 20% of the time, that sort of
Yeah.
bug when I'm just doing that. But let's just drop that in. So we'll start over. You'll see it's going to ask me the same questions. TypeScript, dude. JavaScript and TypeScript, you saw that Asteroids game.
The Asteroids game was.
It don't play. But we go.
And that was this model. The same.
Yeah, this is the only model I use right now. The dense model isn't any better, and it's slower. And the Gemma 4 isn't as good as the Quen 3.6 for coding. It just isn't. Just isn't. I mean, it's good, but it's not as good as this, essentially, as Chinese model. Now that I've got the other machines inside, the one with 256, there's a Minstrel coding model that I want to run on there.
Okay.
Because I got enough memory with the right KV
Yeah.
like, and it'll be interesting to see what that model does. Okay, so let's do the following then. One, use ANSI. Two, you can see it's the same questions, right?
Yep.
Read prompt. 3, I don't care. Yes, no. 4, you decide. Now, it's gonna go and then ask me to start, and this time we'll say use the
skill. Writing Go.
It does. But make sure you use the writing Go skill to perform this work.
There it is. There's the skill.
So now it kicked in,
Yeah.
right? And I think when you're running these local models like this, you have to be at the prompt, at that prompt level.
You have
hey,
to be
do
explicit.
Do this, do that. Just because it just, again, this is an MOE model. The dense models you would think you don't have to do it with, but they run so slow, bro. Even on, the GPU is equivalent to this in there, which is what I realized. And it's just slow. So now let's see. There's no like, this test is so subjective what I'm doing here, right? Like I'd have to do this 100 times before I would suggest that my new writing Go skill is allowing the model to write better Go code.
Yeah, like to see the improvement, like because there's going to be some variance every time.
So subjective, right?
Yeah, that's the boat. That's the boat that I'm in. Like, is this actually making a difference?
So there was a cool test that there's a guy that has a really cool YouTube channel. I'll show it to you. I always tell it
Temp.
you can access temp. Okay. So we just finished, right? That was pretty fast.
Yeah, that was fast. I think.
We didn't overthink it. Whoa.
Oh.
That was bad, right? So I'm going to do the following. Hey, you did not render the board correctly. This is what I am seeing. So that didn't necessarily make the Go program better, right? You see what so I'm even wondering, is my writing Go skill, and I had AMP write it. I didn't write it myself, right? I'm having AMP help me with a lot of this stuff, but I don't know if it really helped. I don't know what value it added other than what I really needed from the skill. We called it writing Go, but it was more me about, hey, there's tooling here to look up documentation about the standard library and the things that we're going to be using.
Yeah.
Sort of leverage that. But you can see here that it didn't. But I'll turn the show off and I'll do this, and it'll give me a perfect run at some point. So who knows what's. Now, one could argue that it's the temperature settings that you're playing with, right? Turn the but that's an impossible situation, right? Like I'm relying on Onslaught to have done all that work to determine that these are the best temperature settings. Maybe they're not.
Yeah, like is it really a skill problem, or is it a
it could be
model,
that I'm
like
me from a sampling perspective, letting it have too much freedom on the, but if you restrict the model too much too, then that very first token may not necessarily be the best one either. And all you're doing is producing the same exact bad program over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So there's a balance on top P, top K, and temp.
I see Cronk fuzzy edit there.
So it used some fuzzy edit. It's brilliant, right?
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. Still not a good rendering of the board at any level. Okay. So this is the worst I've seen in a long time. Hey. You need to fix the board. Maybe start over with the render function. the spacing is off. Spacing is off. Look. So I don't want to do much more of this, but
Yeah.
this is one of my worst runs. One of the things I want to do on stage is run this prompt to show people, but every time I do it on stage, it goes into this sort of mode. Anytime I am broadcasting, I am live, I
Demo.
am trying to show this model off, this is how it behaves. It almost knows that I'm like trying to show how good it is, and it's embarrassed. Okay?
It's stage fright.
It's stage fright. I don't understand. The model doesn't do that. I'm gonna have to tell the model, we are in the privacy of my home.
Make no mistakes.
No one can see you right now. So don't worry, relax. Freaking crazy.
You need to tell it, make no mistakes when you prompt it.
Somebody was asking me about ISMA. ISMA is the Go binding to the Llama CPP library. So if you want to use the raw Llama CPP libraries, which is what Kronk does, you're going to do that via ISMA.
It's doing a lot there.
Well,
It's
when I see it constantly making another mistake,
Yeah.
I know that it's just refactoring on something that's bad. That's when I say, hey, rewrite that from scratch.
Yeah, start from
Because
scratch.
if not, we're not going to get to where I want to get.
It's just gonna bolt stuff onto it to try to make it.
Yeah, and it never works.
Yeah.
Not with this model at this point. Like, that's been my experience. You can't just, you have to literally tell it to just, hey, throw that away.
Yeah.
I just don't want to throw the entire program away, but even this is kind of cool that it's just inefficient, right? If you were paying for these tokens, it would just,
Yeah, if you were paying for it, it wouldn't.
it would suck. You would, like, you shouldn't have to pay for this, but let's see. Better. Now it's working perfectly.
So
right?
something in that render function was just
but you
messed
saw
up.
how I told it to, hey, dude, just throw that out and start
Yeah.
over, right? And then it did it right. But I don't know if that skill that I've been playing with here is really adding any value to anybody's life, right? Okay, but the search skill for sure is working, and the fuzzy thing was working.
Yep.
Those are real sort of skills, right? It's individual things as opposed to, hey, writing Go. And if I go back and I look at writing Go, I mean, is this really a skill, or is it mostly just a set of rules around,
Or you're right.
you know?
Like I feel like it's almost like a set of rules.
Yeah, right. So, and that's fine. That's really what I wanted. I wanted it to know that these tools were out there and it's to leverage them. But it's not making it write better Go code at the end of the day, right? Like, calling this writing Go is probably the wrong name. Anyway, you've seen this work. This is what I've got installed on my machine, okay?
Yep.
Now, let me do the following here. By the way, since I'm going to be giving a talk next week, dude, I wrote an entire.
Oh, with colors and everything. Oh.
I don't do slide decks, but I put this together for the talk. So I got like 10 of these slides here to talk about. All these are questions that have come
Oh.
up before. So
Oh, that's great. No, yeah.
yeah.
That's nice. Yeah.
And then walk people through all the things that Kronk has to do in order to make the magic happen at a high level. Like, there's a lot of details that go in here,
Mhm.
but at a high level.
Yeah.
So the templating, right? Given a question, run through this. I know it's hard to see.
Yep.
You sort of get this. I know it's hard to see.
Caching. Oh, this is sweet.
How we're caching in RAM, essentially. Like, these are slides I can talk to. Queuing and assigning to a slot.
And it helps just seeing everything visually
Yeah.
like that too in general.
Prefill, which is essentially the input.
Yep.
And then sort of how we generate,
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
right? And
I like that.
Kronk has to do all these things on top of Yzma to make all the magic sort of happen, right? So
Yeah.
I'll talk to this. The idea is I go through the slide deck and then try to get Cronk model server to build a tic-tac-toe game.
Yeah.
If it behaves on the very first run, then I can have player 2 be the agent.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Like,
But it's
do the
gotta
agent-
be, it's gotta be
like we did last episode. And
Yeah.
It worked fairly.
But this time I've been pointing it to step 3, and it's been like knocking it out of the park. It's able to like take the patterns that are here. But yeah, it's
Okay.
like sort of like what we did last time. But this is cool, right? Anyway,
Yeah, that looks nice.
yeah.
I didn't know you could do like the colors and stuff like that. I've never used this style.
I've had AMP helping me build these things.
It can do it because it's a
It's
JSON.
or
Yeah,
something underneath.
it
So
can do it.
I've had it help, and then I kind of clean it up and stuff.
But it actually does do it and give you like some spacing and those things.
I don't know. It's pretty good. So
That's
anyway,
cool.
I just want to do some drawing. And then I have a slide that I'll use as a template, sort of to start, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to...
That's interesting. I'm gonna have to use that now. Because I've always, like, when I use ExcaliDraw, I just sketch it out real quick and move on. And then I'm like, I wonder if AI can just do it.
It can. AMP can, for sure. And if you give it a frame to work within the scope of, too, like I did, it will help you better. But I have it write a new file out, and then I copy and paste that into my main deck.
Okay, yeah.
I don't have it messing with, like, that main deck. I have it create new files. I pull it out and then delete that file and tell it to
That
create
way
a
it
new one.
doesn't, it doesn't mess up what's already there. Exactly.
Yeah. But that works.
Huh. That's it. I'm gonna try that today.
Okay,
That's
so
interesting.
what have I sort of shown you so far, right? I've shown you that I have this agent called open code. Could be any agent that you want to work with. Okay, this is some application. It's running on my machine. It's my agent. It's doing all those things that agents do. And it's sort of communicating now with KMS,
Yep.
right? And KMS has inherently an MCP server as well. They could be separate machines, but right now they're not. And the idea is that KMS is hosting a model. Right now, it's my Quen 3 model, 3.6 model. There it is. And this is how open code is sort of communicating with and interacting with. And it's feeding the model everything that it knows about in terms of tools, skills, right? Instructions.
Yep.
All that stuff, right? It's coming out of here. And again, that would be for sort of any open code. And then I've showed you basically under default how you can start setting that up in a very sort of raw fashion, right? And
Yeah.
most developers, this is sort of where they need to go.
Yeah.
But what if, and I would argue that if you're a developer, most likely this is sort of where you want to be, right? All your skills and stuff are here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, what if this wasn't open code for a second? What if this was that app that you're building, right? You're using
OpenClaw.
OpenClaw. Okay. What if this was OpenClaw? And what you're really doing here is building some automation tooling, right? That's fine for a developer. You're really living on the fly and you're doing different things every single day. And maybe you're doing a couple things that are the same, but overall your life changes, right?
Yeah.
But if you're using OpenClaw, you're building apps and things, right? Like we can think of OpenClaw as an agent, just like open code, but it's not an agent in the traditional sense that what am I coding today per se, right? It's, hey, there's a document like we're doing right now, right? Hey, go check some email and then pull that document. And when you do that, it's really task-based and it's the same task.
Exactly.
You might develop new tasks, but imagine that we took the same approach that we're taking now with open code development, and you put your tools and your skills and your instructions here. You can do that.
Yep.
Okay. Now, let's say you had task 1 here. Okay. Task 1. Every day you have this task 1 that you're performing. Let's try to think about what task 1 would sort of look like here. So let's just say if task 1 was something like, okay, look in email box for file, right?
Yep.
Or maybe even better, look in S3 for file, right?
Okay.
Then, right, if there's a file, then you're gonna sort of download the file, right, somewhere locally, and then you're gonna sort of, I don't know, parse that file, right, or extract some information, and then you might do, emit some notifications. You can imagine this list, right, of notifications, and you can imagine yada, 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 right?
Yep.
And this is a task that you're performing every single day, and you need it. And then it's quite possible, and I'm not talking about OpenClaw being your virtual assistant. It could, right? These could be tasks that do that. But look in email for,
Leads or something. Yeah.
from X sender,
Or,
right?
Yeah.
Right? Download the email attachment, right? You're getting some idea here. So if these could be real business level workflows that you're performing, you've put this into production, and this is working beautifully. But the question is sort of, what is this costing you? Because you can define this as a skill.
Yep.
You can. But at the end of the day, and we know this to be true, every time you run these steps, even if you have a skill, the model has to still relearn what it learned the last time, which is, what is the command to do this? And what are the parameters for that? Well, it's the tool, but it's got to figure out what those parameters are. It's got to figure out what the call and the parameters are for this. It's got to figure out what the call and the parameters are this every single time.
Yeah.
It's quite possible that this is working great, but it's quite possible this is taking 2,000 tokens, and plus, because even there it's going to make a mistake every once in a while, because it's essentially relearning everything that it has to do, right? Maybe this takes about 2,400 plus tokens every single time.
Yeah.
Because it has to go through the same sort of learning process.
Yep.
There's no efficiency that you can build in. You already saw me try to build efficiency in with the skills.
Yeah.
But there's no guarantee that the model's going to gain any efficiency.
No.
At least consistently over time. So this is sort of where rote comes in. What rote is going to try to do is basically record. One way I like to think about it, right, is that it's going to essentially record this entire interaction that you have the very first time it sees it, right? And let me move this here. I made it a little, right? So it's going to record this sort of interaction. It's going to record this interaction at a high level.
Yep.
Now, if it's able to record the interaction, right, then what's going to happen is it already knows, right? It already knows how to do that. It already knows how to do that. It already knows how to do all of these things because it's already been, it's already been done once, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening here, but I'm trying to do this. Dude, there is
Whoa.
something weird in my clipboard here. Watch. Oh man, there's
I just
something
saw it. It was like Excalibur
happens-
JSON.
Oh my god, it happens all the time to me. So here's the thing, right? It already knows how to do this. It records how to do this.
Yeah.
So if it records how to do this, then the only sort of variable left for the model, right, is what? Not how to do it.
It's just what to fill, what
The-
parameters,
The
what
parameters
data. Yeah.
you need, right? Okay.
It knows where to put them already.
It knows already
Yeah.
that, okay, come on. It knows already, right, how to do it. Now this is a matter of what are the parameters to do all these things. That's the unknown.
Yeah.
Now, think about what I'm trying to show you here, because if we're able to record, think about this. If we're able to record this part of what the model's already figured out, then the model doesn't have to figure this out anymore. All the model now needs to be given is, I need to do this. What parameters should I use? I need to do this. What parameters should I use?
Yeah, it takes half
Right?
of it away.
And there's other things too, because there's access tokens and there's all these things that I might need to do it. So now what you're talking about is, instead of needing 2,000 plus tokens every time you're going to do this, you probably only need 200 plus tokens, because you're not asking the model anymore to figure out the work. You're asking it to figure out what the data is for this.
Exactly.
How huge is something like that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this is what you want. You know, from a developer perspective, there may be some value in this, right? Because maybe you are doing some of the same things every day, like a GitHub sort of commit, push, and you've written a
Something
skill
like that.
for
Yep.
those types of things. Now, I think this comes in handy because, again, if you're using frontier models or even my local model, it just sped this thing up.
Yeah.
Because I'm not even waiting for this, that he knows how, right? Right? I'm not waiting for this information to be developed again. So you're getting speed up, you're getting token savings, and you're getting an exact sort of script on how to do things.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Makes
Okay.
sense. Yep.
This is what Rote is trying to bring to the table. Now, this is what Rote is trying to bring to the table. Oops, not Rotes. Rote. So just real quick before we continue, there's a cool company named, I can't even pronounce this,
Modique.
Modique. And if you actually do Rote, if you do getrote.dev, you'll go to Modique. And right now they are only opening this up for invite, and they're going to have a big splash coming out before the end of the month, I think. But I've had early access to sort of play with this already, and I've been playing with it.
Okay.
I'm gonna show it off a little bit. But if you're doing any sort of work like this, where you're building automations and you're asking the model to figure out how to do these things, you need this. You need this. Now, the question is, how do you get Rote to work, right? If you're having to hand code all of this stuff, it doesn't work. It's just, now you're just programming in another DSL. And the team over there at Rote knows this, right? They know that for this to work, they need the ability for this whole sort of interaction you had to be recorded, and then to be able to be sort of played back when you're performing that same sort of activity or task. You're still relying on the model to know that, hey, we're doing this again. But, I mean, you want to save money and time? This is it. Okay. So I've gotten this to work. And I've only looked at this one time. So I wanted to use the second hour of the show to sort of explore what they're doing internally a little bit.
Okay.
Just to see some of it so I can wrap my head around it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully everybody sort of understands sort of where we're going here. Okay. Now, to help with some support on this, I added a rote folder under the agents and I didn't share anything between these two. I wanted them separate. So for open code, there's really not much different here. Okay. Actually, these files aren't different at all. Just wanted to separate them. But what you do see here are an agents file. Now, the agents file actually doesn't look...
It looks the same.
...any different either, so that's fine. Oh, there's one more thing I should say, too, about this that I missed, that I'm now thinking about while I show everything off. I want to go back to this diagram here. We have to change the diagram.
Oh, yeah, because... Yeah.
Because ideally now, the way rote is going to work is we're going to stick essentially rote right in here. All right. And rote is nothing more than a CLI tool. But the idea is that we want the model to only be using rote anytime it needs to perform any sort of action. Now, in my case, it could be to the MCP server that's part of cron. But you know that skill that I have in there to do a search over Brave, right? I stuck it into MCP because it was the easiest way to provide it to OpenClaw, okay?
Okay.
But Brave has, Brave might have a CLI, or it might allow me to use curl with the right authentication code, right?
Okay.
So one thing is probably silly if I'm going to use rote to
use the MCP
for Brave, right? What I should do is allow rote to record how to make a Brave API search, right?
Okay.
Wish I had a little cloud thing here. But you can imagine that I've got Brave, right, in the cloud. And if rote had my API key, it would be so much more efficient for rote.
Yeah, skip a step.
Yeah, to just make that, I don't know what that is, that curl call or the CLI call that's there. Not hide it in an MCP service. Let rote have that skill directly, right? The industry's been moving in sort of encapsulating all of this tooling into MCP. Now, my fuzzy replace needs a home. One, again, I could argue that I could create another CLI tool for that. That probably is not a bad place to keep it per se. But you see how rote can make MCP calls for you and save sessions and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But for Brave API, if I was going to go hedge down rote, like, why am I doing that? It would be more efficient to let it just record how to do Brave in a search. And then, again, all it needs to know now is the parameters, right? That's coming out of OpenClaw. And so, in our case, the idea is everything goes through rote, because then rote has this concept of crystallizing the memory of how to do things.
Okay.
Okay. So, like, even here, when I say know how, right? Like, what is a recording? Sort of how to do it, really, right? Like, I mean, that's what we're recording here, right? How to do it.
It's more like instructions. Yeah.
Well, we're going to look at what it's recording. So part of what I want to do here.
I'm curious on, like, how it stores it.
Yeah, I want to go into a little bit more detail. And I thought, since I had to do this research anyway from my own brain, I thought it'd be good to do this sort of on the show a little bit.
Yeah.
And these are, some of it's implementation details, so this stuff's going to change over time, but still gives you a general sort of thought of what's happening, right? But it's recording how to do it, and it can record how to do this just as efficiently as it could sort of through here. So the idea now is that you don't have to necessarily spend time putting anything in an MCP service if that CLI tooling is already on the machine that this agent, let's say, is running on.
Yeah.
And there's a good chance that it is, right? Now, you might need a sandbox for some of this stuff. There's other ways to do that. But ideally, rote is here to essentially record how to do something. And then the idea is to crystallize that in a way where the model doesn't have to relearn how to do it. Right? And then it can leverage that knowledge in a much more efficient way. Okay.
Yeah.
So I forgot that piece here. So this notes is just for me as I'm learning to sort of get an idea of how rote is working at a little bit of a lower level. Anybody can sort of see this. I would look at the build feature branch, I think, right now to sort of read this thing. But you've got basically architecture at a glance. We might have to open this up in a little bit.
Yeah.
But you're going to see that open code is still going to have its sort of place in the config. And then rote has its own local folder as well. And there's secrets, there's a registry, there's adapters. We're going to start with the MCP service. So that adapter is going to give us knowledge and access to the Cronk MCP service. So for all the MCP servers that you have, we'll create adapters that give rote the ability to sort of interact with that sort of stuff.
Okay.
And then you're going to have, in some terminology in rote, it's called a canvas. In others, it's called a workspace. I've decided to use the workspace name right now, primarily because that's what we're going to see on disk. And it's these workspaces that basically crystallize the activities that you're doing. So you'll create different workspaces. I'm just creating one big workspace right now called Playground. But ideally, if you know that you're going to have this do something that you want to crystallize, then you can create a workspace around it. And this is some of the things that we're going to be looking at, like sort of down here. So there's a whole series of sort of creating adapters, and then I'll show you the canvas. In fact, to make it easy for everybody today to sort of get rote installed, they've started with a VS plugin. And this is how they're delivering sort of a UI. This is just day one. They're going to be doing much more than this. Now, I have all the CLI commands already in the make file, so I don't really open this up. But once I start doing things, we can open this up and look. And so, remember I told you the idea of a canvas, right? This is going to basically be like related to that sort of workspace. Adapters, that's going to be related to what you're looking. There's a bunch of adapters that already exist. So when you install rote, you can already select a whole bunch of adapters already for common things like mail and all those other sort of SaaS products that are out there.
Yeah.
I have the rote CLI installed. You also have to authenticate it. I'll show you some of that. But you can see here there's a whole catalog here. There's the hub, and
That's cool.
There's a whole bunch of things here that you can already get. Cloudflare, right? GitHub, Gmail.
Yeah.
And so they're building this whole community of adapters, so you don't have to basically develop them yourselves for all of the different products and services that are sort of already out there, right? You just get all this for free, which is sort of cool. Now, Cronk, MCP, would never be in this hub because it's not that generalized of a service,
Yeah.
right? So we'll have to create our own adapter. But creating the adapters are not hard. This VS plugin UI helps you from a UI perspective, but I'll show you the CLI commands, what we're going to do here. So in the make file, I've got, well, we're not there yet, but this gives you a basic sort of flow of how rote's going to sort of work. So we're going to have some sort of user prompt. Open code's going to read the agents, right? It's going to have what we saw about already in terms of skills.
Yep.
It's going to load this and teaches the agent the rote workflow, and then sort of we're going to follow this on disk essentially here, right?
Okay.
and we should start seeing rote being called. And as rote's getting called, we should see our playground workspace starting to sort of get interacted and working. Now, I am confused. I did expect, and again, I'm just learning this right now.
Yeah.
Now, if I look at the skills, though, there it is. So the agent file really isn't different because we're telling it to use these skills. But if we go into the skill files, look at what we're seeing here.
Rote config.
Right?
Okay.
We're using rote to interact. Not, if we looked at the other skill, it was a direct sort of MCP call.
So rote isn't basically like in an agency, it would be like I would think of it like a global rule. Rote isn't that. It's more like a specific skill. Use rote.
Right now, the way I'm using it, when the Modique team has more training and stuff, right? Maybe they'll have better, maybe best practices here. But at least for the MCP service, we don't want open code going to the MCP server directly. We want it to go through rote, and then rote can crystallize our interactions with web search, okay, and fuzzy edit and things like that. So you can see here that we're giving it specific sort of, and I had AMP write a lot of this stuff, okay? I didn't come up with this sort of off the top of my head. Their documentation is so good that the AMP agent was able to just start like going crazy here. So I've never really used the UI to do any of this. But you can see here that they store JSON documents with responses, and they're able to use that. We're going to see it, okay? But you can see here that we're going to be using rote, okay? And it's at the skill level here that rote is getting involved, at least. This doesn't need rote so much, I don't think, because we're just telling it about Go tooling. But this is the one we're going to play with anyway. So we're not going to go directly to the MCP server now. We're going to have to create an adapter for the Cronk MCP, and then this skill should kick in. We should see rote. The model should know at that point to use rote to do this, and then we should be able to crystallize it. So there is one other. Okay, now they have a fix for this. I might take this out of the skill just so you can see it. I'll make a decision game time.
Okay.
You would never want to do this as part of your skill because this is basically deleting the crystallized sort of memory here. I'm deleting the workspace before I make the call.
Like before you make the first call to rote.
Even every time I make the call.
Oh, everything. Just so that way it's.
You don't know. This was a build problem, I think, more than anything else.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna see that they save the MCP session ID as part of the crystallized memory. Mm-hmm. Technically, an MCP server, when you authenticate, there's a sort of a back and forth that goes on. Hey, I'd like to do things. Great. Hey, here's your session ID. Thank you. Boom.
Yeah.
Then every call has to be against the session ID.
Okay.
Now, technically, the MCP server should be persisting these session IDs over time. Because what you don't want is every time you make a call to an MCP server, you have to spend God knows how many milliseconds, 20, 30, 40 milliseconds, doing the handshake again. Yep. That's insane. So if I've already given you a session ID and it's valid, we can skip the handshake. So rote obviously saves the session ID.
Yeah.
However, this is an MCP server that goes down a lot, and I don't persist session IDs because this is my own little thing. And in a development environment, this is probably going to be the case for a lot of people. Yep. In a production environment, that would suck, right? So the very first interaction we're going to have with the Cronk MCP server, rote's going to do the right thing and save the session ID. The moment I restart the server and it tries to give me the session ID, what's going to happen? I don't know. I don't know. But rote never thought that Bill Kennedy would be involved and didn't think of reestablishing a session. So right now, you're going to see me do the one thing you never ever want to do, because if you're doing this, there's no reason to use rote.
Yeah,
just go back to the default.
Exactly.
But there's a release coming out very soon where if the session ID is invalid that they've recorded, they'll reestablish the session and then record the new session ID. And it would be for these situations where honestly you're a developer and you're, ideally
Yeah, you're
production
doing dev
level MCP servers should not be doing that kind of stuff. So you would never ever in a million years want to see this, but I've put this into the skill. Ideally, this is all that should be, right? It's going to record a cron call, the web search command, and here are the parameters, and everything else related to that will be crystallized.
Got it.
And this is what we're expecting the model now to just sort of give us at some point.
Okay.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Makes sense, right? Okay, so you can see that at the skill level now, we're defining some of this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so all I've done at this point is I have my default settings in place. I don't want them to conflict while we're playing here. So in the make file, I've done some drastic things here. I have a wipe command.
Okay.
The wipe command is going to remove everything, including my entire rote folder, which also means it's going to remove my rote installation, which I just learned about, which I honestly don't necessarily, I mean, installing rote is not like a massive problem, but that's kind of silly. So before I run this, because I just realized this earlier today, I don't want to have a set of default and then rote, and then it's really confusing for the model to like figure out what it's doing. And ideally, as a developer, you're either using one or the other.
Yep.
But before we do anything, I think I should have AMP be smarter about this.
Don't remove the whole installation.
So we have this. Then again, I can walk you through the installation too.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll fix this later. Let's just wipe it all down for now. So I'm gonna wipe everything out, even my installation of rote at this point. And so if I was to look at the config folder now off the root, I mean, I have my AMP and my iTerm. Everything's gone. Now if I opened up open code again and I said, what are my skills?
Yeah.
So it's like a brand new machine. Okay, so let's walk through what I have here for rote as if it's a brand new machine. Now, you do need today a invite code. So if you want to play with this right away after watching this, send me an email and then I will talk to the team and see if they want to bring you in right now. They've got a big release coming in. They got a big release coming out very, very soon. So they may want to, I think it's on the 27th, so they may want to just hold off a little bit. But we're going to do that. Okay, so this command here will install the rote CLI. This is like the new thing that I've been seeing. Everybody has a curl call now with a pre-compiled sort of command here. So
I've been seeing that.
I'm going to run this install, and that should bring back, and down here, let me do this. We shouldn't have a rote. Oops. I don't have a rote folder yet here. Oh, I should say. Right. Okay. So let's go ahead and run the installer for rote, starting completely. Now it's asking me a bunch of questions. Install demo runtime for TypeScript flows. No. Set up shell integrations. Now, they can set up shell integrations for you, like in Z shell and stuff. So,
okay.
If I sort of do this right, cat at my local root. That's what I want to show you down here. They're going to add some things like this. And then that can give rote autocomplete and some other sort of things that it would be helpful with.
Okay.
And then basically they'll add this to everything there. So I'll just say yes, even though it's already sort of there. And now I should have a root folder. So I now have the basic installation for root, okay?
Okay.
Just running that command. Now, again, you can also do this installation by, if you're in VS Code,
The extension.
by doing this, and then that will go through also the install sort of process. But I'm at a point now where I really wanted to do this on the command line. Okay,
Gotcha.
now I need to authenticate. So I'm going to run this command. It's going to do the root login. Again, you can authenticate from the plugin. You have 3 ways. You can create your own email password account. You can use Google or GitHub. I've been using GitHub for my initial account. So I'll just say GitHub, and I'm already sort of part of it. But since it's a new installation, I went ahead and I did that. So I'm now sort of authenticated here, and it created whatever it sort of created there. Okay, hopefully I'm not leaking anything here. If I am, whatever. Chetan's like rolling in his grave right now. You can't show that. Okay, so I don't know if I can show it or not, so I'll just do that. Not that it's hasn't been already paused on video. Okay, so maybe we should put a dev null device there. Now, there's a couple of things here, right? That AMP sort of chained together. We're going to run the seed command, which is going to run the playground command, which is going to sort of do this login check. The playground command is going to give us that workspace that we can sort of play in. However, the seed command is going to create the adapter. So we need an adapter for our Cronk MCP service. So when I run seed, it's going to create adapters folder. It's going to go ahead and do that. I got to make sure that the MCP server is up and running, which it is, right? The server's running. But first, it's going to create a playground workspace for us and just double check that we're logged in to do that. So all these things are going to happen. We should see workspaces, playground, and then we should see an adapter. I'll go back into the VS plugin when I do that, and we can see it visually here. Okay, so all those commands sort of worked, right? So if I come back in here and I just do a reload, you can kind of see this all sort of changed a little bit, right?
Yeah, no.
That shouldn't. It says it's not installed. That's interesting. We know. Oh, that's interesting, huh?
Rote not found.
Yeah, I find that super interesting because we know rote is installed.
Yep.
There it is, 0.15. But that never happened before. That always sort of picked up.
Maybe.
See how it says rote not found? That never happened to me before.
Huh.
So I don't know why, even as I reload. That's weird. Okay, not terribly important. I don't necessarily need it. But I was using this at one point to see the adapters and everything. Like if I come in here now, we've got the adapters. And you see Cronk. And you can see all of this. I want to explore this a little bit more. Let's go into that. Oops. So when we told it to create an adapter for the MCP service, it created all of this, right? Let's just open that up as a separate sort of folder. So it created this sort of policies. Obviously, it had to communicate with the MCP service. It had to be up. So
There's some governing
there's
stuff.
nothing here that looks overly...
Retries.
Yeah.
Log. Yeah.
All right. That's kind of cool.
And
Or whatever all this crazy stuff is, right? Again, whatever this crazy stuff is.
Tool sets, MCP.
So here it knows that there were two tools.
Yep.
Okay.
Confidence 0.9.
That's
That's interesting.
yeah. And then it created an agents file.
Oh, that's,
So information about before starting any task, run the mandatory protocols check for additional context. One thing Rote is really about is providing incredible documentation back to the agent, right?
okay.
To the model, really. And so they've really focused pretty heavy on that sort of stuff. So, you know, if we were to run sort of these commands here, like I don't even know what would happen if I just said how. I would imagine I have to say more than just how,
Oh.
but
Ooh.
let me clear the screen.
Agent onboarding.
All this information going to the model, so it
And
can be,
yeah, this is to the model. This is
Yeah.
for
yeah.
interesting.
And this is like the beauty of the system, right? They've dug deep into what a model really needs in order to behave properly.
Very structured,
Yeah.
no fluff.
So we have this agents file that they wrote with all these instructions on how to do things. Pretty wild, right?
Yeah.
Now, it's pretty big. It scares me a little bit for my local model stuff, but for a frontier model, that's whatever. It then created a manifest and has some fingerprints of the new big thing now. Okay. Some statistics I would have found. And then this is direct information about the tools that we had in there, fuzzy edit and web search.
Oh.
Okay, so here's all the information about the MCP service laid out as an adapter, all right? And so you saw that I didn't do much
No.
other than essentially it was creating adapters. We made some, I don't know,
Our sync runtimes.
and then a re-index for whatever. So some things that are going on here.
What we exclude.
So some of the stuff is beyond my pay grade a little bit here, but we saw what it sort of built.
Yeah.
But what's interesting to me is, well, that I'm writing myself. Now, I guess it did the playground first, right? So that's one folder we haven't seen yet.
The playground. Yeah.
So and that's going to be under, where is that? Workspaces. Now, I don't see a workspaces yet, do
I
you?
don't see that either. Did we run that command yet?
It had to, because if I ran seed, it
Oh.
had to run playground.
Okay.
Now, it did run this rote init playground sequence, but maybe until we do something, it's not going to create that just yet. Oh, no, it's in the rote folder. Sorry.
Oh.
It's a rote thing. So rote actions.
Workspace.
It's in actions. Nothing yet. Workspaces. And my playground workspace. And then there's another folder called rote.
Another rote.
And there's some database. And right now we haven't done anything, so there's no responses. There's no extractions.
Okay, so that's how it kind of keeps.
Crystallizing everything.
That's how it crystallizes. It has a DB in there.
Something,
Okay.
yeah. So it definitely created all that. What's interesting to me, though, is this created the directory. I don't know what rsync does.
After the rsync. Remote sync. Files.
Huh.
Huh. Yeah.
It must be okay. So the model used rsync to copy files that I had already from here. So okay, now that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
So I already created the adapter here, and I saved it. Ah, I forgot I did that. So if this was here, I could have used it to create that adapter. It would have connected and did that. But I already created an adapter for Kronk, so you already had it. You don't have to go back through and recreate it. So that's I forgot I did that. So I've given this to you already out of the box.
Got it. Okay.
The last thing to do is to provide open code support now. So it's going to recreate the open code folder, and it will go ahead and do everything we did before, but it's going to pull from the rote side of things. All right. Okay. So now open code is configured to use rote, not our sort of default setup there.
Okay.
Okay, just by using these files. So the only thing I totally forgot was I already pre-created an adapter.
Got it.
Now,
Okay.
I want to do this just because this is crazy to me. I'm going to kill VS Code. This is weird, man.
Wonder if I don't know.
Like, I don't know why. We know it's there.
Yeah.
I installed it the same way I've always installed it, sort of here. So let's do the following, though, before I do that, because that feels ugly to me. Feels ugly to me. Let's just do the following real quick before I go too crazy. Need help. I ran. To install root, and it did. I see we are running 0.15.0, right? But when I launch VS Code and click on the root plugin, it says root is not installed. Do you have any ideas? Let's see here before I quote unquote reinstall it or something.
Execution context.
Just weird.
So they call it execution context engineering.
Only installs a CLL binary at root. It does not install. Oh, and those are two separate things. Okay. Says that it is though.
From a terminal.
But I did this.
In the extension settings.
I guess is number 2. Run ls code. Let's see.
So it's definitely there.
I don't know where exit code 127.
I think it ran it. Did it just run the command?
Let me see.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh. So let's do a rote. There's a rote command for self-update. No, 15 is the latest, but sorry, 16 is there. I don't think they have to match.
I don't think so, because it was working right before. It's probably just a path thing.
They don't need to be the same. What happens? Shit. All right, so this is weird to me. I've never seen that. This didn't happen to me before. So, and I restarted VS Code by doing this. So we have two choices here. I could uninstall and reinstall this. I wonder if that would help.
From the dock inherits Mac OS's, which doesn't include, so the extension doesn't get you better.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know what's wrong. I know what's wrong. I know what's wrong. Hold on. I bet you this is wrong. Okay, I bet you this is it. Let me kill VS Code. I know what's wrong. Let me source. Right? Because if I cat I bet you because I didn't source it.
So then maybe doing like code
Yeah,
there.
now I'm worried about what I see. That should have done it. Okay.
It's gotta be a path.
There's got to be a shell thing
Yeah.
that I didn't do. But I just realized I did a cat of my Z shell, and I don't know what else I showed the world. I might have to set some other things ablaze. Let me do something here off camera for a second. Yeah, it moves so fast, I don't think if I can see it. There is the rote shell integration. My guess is that should have worked, especially after I resourced everything. So, I don't know. We don't have to spend a lot of time on this. I just, oops. Okay, so road is there the way they wrote it. They put it up front. And then that means that the other shell integration would have worked. So I don't think it's that. Okay. We could just do this. I mean, what do I care? I already have it installed.
So it might just be installing it somewhere else. Look, full log users bill. Oh yeah,
No,
one
it's
adapter. So it did.
So for whatever reason, dude, I had to just do that. That's weird. Like, I don't know why we would have had to do that. But anyway, you can see here that when I had amp create an adapter, right? That's from all that stuff that I had.
Yeah.
But I had amp do that for me to create it. And I don't remember all the things it did to make that happen.
Interesting. Okay, so we have a Cronk MCP.
I don't know how to go back. but it's here. So
Rope. Was-
yeah, so these are things like, I don't remember how we create, other than having AMP create it. But you can see that it's there. And then the canvas has the playground.
Oh, okay.
So that canvas and the workspace has a playground. Now, I've got all this set up. The key is to now use it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring up open code. And now I'm going to say, hey, what skills do we have to use? Let's see what it says. Now, those are the two skills, but it should go through rote, right?
Yeah.
So why don't we say something like, okay, use the web search skill. Tell me if Ardan Labs teaches Go at a corporate level. Now, I'm hoping to see some rote
Cronk MCP
stuff here.
skill cronk. There it is. I need to use the rote command. Permission required.
There. So
Yep.
that tells me we're using rote. You see this sort of output here?
Yeah.
Okay. And always allow. So now it's using rote and to make the MCP call, which it just did, right? And now I got back some information.
Yep.
Now, technically, I don't know how many sort of tokens we used on that, okay? But now we've got two responses that came through this.
Oh, there it is. Trace. It tells you token consumption.
Where?
Right there. Yep. 1,320.
So we used 1,320 tokens on the two responses, 76 in, 1.2 out duration. It's kind of cool too that you get
Yeah.
this information, right? But now that interaction should have been recorded. So now we've got these two
1 and 2.
JSON document. Oh, I should go in there. Right.
Whoa.
So that got recorded, right? Here, let's
Yeah.
just do, just to be in here for a second. So that one got recorded.
Response. Tools. Yeah. And
But
go-
now, the next time we do this, it should be faster, right? Because the idea is that it now has knowledge to do that, right?
So now, in theory, you would like copy and paste the same question, and it would.
Let's try that.
Yeah, there.
I start a new session.
Yeah. Let's see. MCP. It's using rote there.
Done. It's faster, right? I mean, much faster because
Yep.
this time, even though it removed my playground space, whatever, and I don't have to do that on this session because I'm keeping the MCP up.
Mm-hmm.
I probably want to remove that while we experiment because that's not helping me. But you can see here that it didn't have to relearn the skill for sure. Now we've got 3 sort of interactions there.
19, but it was 1900 tokens over 3 responses, so it used a lot less on this last one because it was 1300. So it used like 600 tokens on that call.
Look, they're even tracing how long things have taken here, which I didn't realize that. Yeah, this UI has to move out of VS Code at some point. But you can see
Tokens in, oh yeah, duration, 1 second.
so on this first one, it says 33 in, 823 out.
Mm-hmm.
On this one,
So 43 in. Oh, but the first call was you asking what tools were available, right?
yeah, but that didn't go through rote.
Oh,
It wasn't until I had to make an actual tool call.
So the second, oh yeah, no. So the first one.
Yeah, it's hard to know.
Yeah.
What's interesting is I'm deleting the playground, but it looks like the database is staying intact. Because part of the playground now is that same session. What's also speeding it up is it gets to reuse the session ID.
Mm-hmm.
But let me see something here. I shouldn't delete the. Yeah, I don't know what half this stuff is. But that's why they're working on it and not me. But I am telling it to delete. Maybe it's not. There was a file that I saw at one point that had the session ID in it for the call, and I don't remember where that is anymore, to be honest with you. I mean, who knows what's in here anymore? Like, I don't know what's changed at 12:57. So I don't know enough. I don't think anything's changed in the adapters. No. Except some logs. Config. Anyway, I mean, requires some more. And I shouldn't be deleting the workspace every time, even though it's impressive that it's keeping something there. Maybe the delete is failing. But I know it's not because I couldn't restart the server and start it again without doing. What are we deleting again in this skill? Let's just double check something here.
Workspace, playground.json.
Oh,
Oh, the session.
okay, that's
Wait.
where it is. That's what I was looking for. So this was my bug, is this.
The session ID.
Because once I restart the server,
Oh, so you're not removing the playground.
no, this is the session here. So, no, because when I restart the server, that session ID no longer is valid. And
Yeah.
it's always going to try to use this because technically, once you've authenticated, that should always work.
Yeah.
But you can see here that this is what it's recorded. So here under the action, under these sessions, it's recorded a bunch of information that it can leverage for the next call.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Okay. Interesting.
Now I'm deleting that, but I honestly shouldn't be deleting it. But now what's cool is, okay, how about REST training?
Oh, there it is again.
Yep, it's using rote. And Now we got 4 calls.
25. We were at 18.
It's hard to tell what I'm looking at here in terms of the latest.
So that's definitely the latest there.
This one?
Yeah.
It's weird. I don't know how to.
One's a probe, and then the other 3 are calls.
I don't know how to read this.
So 5, 6.
This is the 4th call.
Hmm?
This is 1.
1, yeah, and then we're on the
That's
4th.
4. How does that change from 4? Oh, each one of these is a separate.
Yes.
Okay, now I'm starting to see. So that was 1. That was 856 tokens. That was 464. 645. And maybe because the data was different. It came back with different data.
Maybe. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some variance,
Yeah.
but it is less.
Yeah,
It was 800 before.
but just even having this information on what's happening, right?
Trust boundary, I guess. Like,
These are all the calls back and forth.
oh.
I didn't even seen this before when I was playing with it.
Read. Okay.
Now, I don't know where it's getting cost from, but I didn't give it any cost.
It's an interesting UI with the.
I guess if we did this on Clonet Sonnet 4, that would have cost me that.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I guess they're doing like some math. It says the math they're doing there.
Yeah. I can't
What-
scroll that
so, like,
down.
What if you put like 4.7 Opus? It should go. Yeah, it's like almost double.
That might be a bug that I see OpenAI and I can't scroll it.
Ooh. Parallel time speed up. Oh, it tells you the speed up.
But look at all that information.
That's cool. I like
Oh,
data.
yeah, 66% faster because it's able to leverage what it already knows.
66% savings. Yeah.
So I think, or at 1 o'clock. So I think that for systems that you're building where the tasks are going to be repetitive over and over again, the only thing is changing the parameters. Just the insights that you get here and the savings that you're going to get, it's like you got to use it,
Yeah.
right? It's still a little raw to set up, but since their documentation is so good, Claude Code or AMP can help you build like what I've built already, sort of out of the box.
That's kind of what I've experienced with OpenClaw. That like the documentation is good enough where.
Okay, I'm gonna do one thing here before we are done. I'm going to wipe back. So this is what I do now. I don't want to play with road anymore. I remove all of it.
Wipe.
And then I go back to my default right now, which is this. Oops. And gonna wait for the new version of, see now I'm back to where I was. And I don't need that Excali draw anymore.
Draw.
Okay. Now I'm back to like non-rope mode, but
Yeah.
when they fix some of those bugs, I'm gonna get rid of that remove and gotta figure out more on the install side there. But hey man, I think in 2 hours we did pretty good at.
Yeah. No, I think it's pretty cool, and it was definitely faster after rote was being used. For
I
sure.
just wish they didn't hide that in VS Code right away. Just give me like we do in Cronk. You have rote browser or something, and let me run a local instance of that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then see it, because not everybody uses VS Code, so
That is true.
you know.
Yeah.
But look, it's a brand new company. The engineering that they've done is amazing. Like, these are all the things that they'll tighten up as you go here. So
Of course, yeah.
if you really loved what I showed you, and obviously there's more for me to learn, but you saw the basics there, you should be using this stuff if you're building workflows that repeat things over and over and over again to save on that money and that token, and even your local inference there, right? Now, anytime I do web search, it's going to be faster if I use
For sure.
rote, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, why wouldn't you do it? Why have the model relearn that skill over and over and over and over
Exactly.
again? Makes no sense.
And it saves your question too. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, there's history on all the stuff you're doing. So you
Yeah.
can sort of, I mean, the management stuff they're going to have here for team leads all the way up to the CTOs to see what your product is doing, and this is
yeah.
going to be sick. And they can put this into like some bigger dashboards, Grafanas, and
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
it's endless. But the core engineering of it, the data gathering, the automatic, it's like all that stuff. That's the hard. Like, they wired it all in, right?
Yeah.
That's what they've been working on for months. Like, that looks pretty solid. Now you turn it into a management feature, and it's. Anyway, you should at some point when this is ready, like the stuff that you're doing.
It's 1,000% this can be used for what I'm doing.
We should be using it.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. It's 1 o'clock. We're signing off. We'll see everybody on Thursday. We'll continue to have some more fun here with Kronk. And I think Bifrost is going to be what we play with on Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, there's stuff I want to play there. So I'm using these sessions to, like, spend time playing with
Explore.
things
Yeah.
I don't get to do during the week. So,
For sure.
all right, buddy. Thanks for hanging out.